Good afternoon, fret friends. New project, and this is really something kind of special. And I wonder if you can guess what it is. Looks like the early Westones, doesn't it? But it's not. It's not that early. But it is an early. It's an early Ibanez, and it's a Satriani JS1000, no less, one of the first ones made. So it's made in Japan. It's faded a bit. But it needs a refret. These frets are flat as oat, flat as pancakes. Now the owner of this, I did a job for him, new client, did some work for him a month or so ago, probably a bit more. That happy with work, so I've got loads of guitars I want working on, and he bought me this one. And he's got a couple of Les Pauls, Gibson Les Pauls need working on, but he bought me this one. He said, what do you reckon about them frets? I said, well, it needs a refret, so I can see that. So I had it in to ascertain, and I'd looked at it while he was here, and I couldn't work out the radius of a fingerboard for one. Now if you go online and check this model, it'll tell you it's a 10-inch radius. Well, it ain't. It's a slight compound radius, and it's 9-inch at the neck end radius, or what will that be? 225mm and 250mm at this end, or 10-inch. So it was 9 to 10 slight radius, but it's as Satriani likes his necks to be. Now I've checked the nut. The nut is a 9-inch radius, which is very rare. Could be a 10, but I think it's a 9. But the radius on the tremolo, which is a low pro, I think it's a low pro, Edge low pro, one of the original ones, radius on there is 12-inch. So what I've decided to do is I've decided to re-radius the whole fingerboard, and it goes from 9 to 10. I've talked to the owner about it and he agrees with me. We're just going to re-radius the whole fingerboard and re-radius it to 12 inches or 250mm. Now I know somebody out there going, don't do that, it's Satriani, you've got to keep it as it is. Yeah, you see, the thing is, this guitar belongs to a guy who is not Joe Satriani, and he's agreed with me that he wants a 12-inch radius, and he's keeping the guitar, he's not selling it, because he thought about selling it, but I says, look, it's going to cost you 300 quid to get the paintwork sorted out, there's chips in it. I says, you're going to pay 300 for that, 200 for a reflex, 500 quid you spent, how much are you going to get for the guitar? He goes, about 600 quid. So he's decided he's not selling it, he's keeping it. So we've decided that I'm going to refret it. I'm going to put a new nut on there. It's a reverse. It comes in from the back there, back of the headstock, so I'm going to go look for a Charlotte black one, 42mm wide. Check the radius at this end, it is 9-inch, it is 10-inch at this. I'm going to re-radius the whole lot to 12, could do 10, but it would mean shimming Floyd Rose, and I don't like shimming Floyd Roses, so we're not going to do that, we're going to buy a new nut instead. So we've agreed that's what we're going to do. I'll be removing a bit of material from the fingerboard, but the good thing about that is there are scratches and dings in the fingerboard down this end. Don't know if you can see them, take my word for it. There's one. There's a long one across there, there's a long one across there. Then we're going to remove all them. We're going to slightly flatten the fingerboard across the whole length, or up and down the whole length of the neck. Neck is removable. Guitar was made in Japan, serial number 007054. Look at the neck plate there, made in Japan, so it's going to be around about 92 model. Also made, it's also got Japan on the back of the headstock there. So that's it. I'm going to get the gubbins off, take the strings off, take the neck off, test the Allen wrench slot, the truss rod. If the truss rod's working fine, we'll get the neck straight. That's it. I am going to re-radius the whole fingerboard. I'm going to make sure the neck's straight, and we're going to refret it. The fret wire I'm going to use to stay with the Japanese theme, or theme, not theme. I'm going to use my favourite fret wire, which happens to be Hosco fret wire, which is Japanese. It's 18% nickel silver, so it's quite hard. It's the fret wire I use the most. Straightforward fret job on this. There's no binding to contend with. I may lose a bit of material. Well, we're going to lose a bit of material off the top of the neck. We're going to take it lower, maybe by about 0.5 mm. Should still keep the mother of pearl inlays intact. We should hardly touch them. Might even be removing less than that. It's not going to alter the way the tremolo works or the action works. It may slightly alter the action on the nut, but this nut is shimmed anyway, so if we need to drop that, we absolutely can, even though I'm getting a new nut, you know what I'm saying. So that's it. I'm going to go and source a 12-inch radius locking nut, a Charlotte one, and that really is it. So we're going to get the neck off, have a look at it, see what I think. I'll come back, give you a slight update, see if I change my mind on anything, or see what I think ought to be done. But I think what I've suggested is exactly what we're going to do. Good thing is, I have nothing else on at the moment. I'm only working on my own guitars right now, and that's great because I have so many. I've got about 4 or 5 of my own guitars to work on, and I've not touched for months. So that's really, really good. So that gives me 2 full weeks to do this. I know I've got stuff coming in, but I'm going to put them off a bit. So, like I said, got to crack on. If there are any problems, I'll come back and give you an update shortly. So, took the neck off. Everything's all good. Truss rod works both ways. Well, it works the way it needs to work. Just check the neck for straightness. 25.5-inch scale. Neck is absolutely straight that way. So we're not going to have a problem getting this right at all. Also, JS1000. And in the neck pocket there's a shim in there, but you look, ignore the shim. JS1000. So we know we're right on the money what guitar this is. I should have known anyway. Cosmo Black tremolo, Cosmo Black tuners, Cosmo Black locking nut. Well, it's supposed to be Cosmo Black, but is this just a black one? That looks like just a black one. So we're going to buy just a black one. I'm going to check the radius on this. I haven't checked it yet. Should be able to just go across the top. A 9.5-inch call there, and there you go. 9.5-inch call. Let's try and get the 9.5-inch so you can see it. There you go. Between my finger and thumb it says 9.5-inch, and there you go. So it's a 9-inch radius on there. I'm going to buy a 12-inch radius nut. Try and get the one with the same height. Same action. There was a, like I said, there was a shim under there, but not much cop, not much of a shim, just two pieces of little thin metal like this. Now I actually do have some proper shims knocking about in my parts drawer, so we're not going to worry about that. We're not going to struggle for shims anywhere. So that's it. We're not going to have any problems with this. If we do have a problem, it'll be getting these frets out. I mean, that's not rosewood, is it? It looks like ebony. Or is it dark stained ebony? I don't know. I'll have to go and check what the fingerboard is. Looks like it might be ebony, which means it's going to crack like a bitch when I take the frets out, which means more work for me. But I've already priced it up for an ebony board anyway, so we'll see how we go. But looking at the frets close, if I want to zoom in and have a look, it absolutely needs a refret. There's nothing on some of these, and the grooves in there, blah blah blah. So that's it. That's the ascertain video done. If the owner knows what I think needs to be done, I'm sure he's going to agree to it. But I'm going to post this video to the owner of the guitar, young Jim. Let him know what I'm going to do, and I know he's going to want me to do it because he's already said so. So I am going to crack on with it. First job will be to get the frets out, and then we'll check the radius of the fingerboard and see what we can do. Next part of the video will be part 2, where we crack on with the work. I'll come back with a little explanation, so make sure you join us for that one. See you soon. So normally we would consider this the second part of a video, but I think I'm going to keep it all in one long piece. So regarding what I said in the earlier part, the bit I recorded prior to this, I decided I was going to re-radius the fingerboard to 12 inches, but I've changed my mind. I ain't going to do that, because on second thoughts, when I got the locking, I thought, hang on a minute, a 9-inch radius locking nut, that doesn't seem quite right. So I'll go and check what it is, and I think it's a 10-inch radius locking nut, which will work fine on a 9-inch radius at this end, 10 at that. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to keep this radius just about as it is. I'm going to re-radius the board, but I'm going to re-radius it the whole length to 10 inches rather than 9 at this end, 10 at the other. So we're going to have a 10-inch nut, a 10-inch radius nut. We're going to have a 10-inch radius across the whole length. And when we get to the tremolo is going to flatten out just a little at a 12-inch radius. Now, if I really need to, I could shim the edges of a tremolo, but I'm not going to. I think we'll get away. We'll absolutely totally get away with the 12-inch radius bridge on a 10-inch radius neck. If I feel that we're not going to, I will re-radius to 12 inches. But if I re-radius to 12 inches, I'm going to be removing quite a bit of material from the centre. And that's not where I'm reluctant to do that. I'd rather not do that, because there is enough rosewood on there, but I don't want to be taking more material off than is necessary. So I had to think about it, and I thought, even though there's grooves in here, I'm thinking if I just take half a mil off the whole lot and re-radius the whole lot to a 10-inch radius, it's going to be absolutely fine. I will do a little bit of reading up, a little bit of checking on Google, but like I say, there's lines in there. There's a deep groove down there. There's another groove there, so I'm going to get rid of them anyway. So I'm going to be taking at least 1/3 of a millimetre off the top of this fingerboard. Now if you see, there are some areas appearing there where you know, there are holes in there, little divots. So it'd be good to get them out as well. Now, I'm not saying we're going to get them all completely out, but I think taking 1/3 of a millimetre off the top of that rosewood, if it is rosewood, is not going to harm anything. So that is what I've decided to do. I've talked to the owner, he's absolutely fine. He says just do what you think is necessary, I trust you, and you know, do the work. Now I've ordered the fret wire. I have gone with a fender size fret wire. It's a medium, Hosco medium fret wire with a 0.53mm tang. It is also, it's 2.6 wide and 1.17mm high, which is medium high, which will give me a bit of room to play about with, but it is a very good fret wire. If I'd have gone with a Gibson type, the Gibson type would have been 2.9mm wide, which is way too wide. 2.6 is going to be perfect for this. I have instructions from Jim that he wants it. I know how he likes his action. He wants the action as low as possible. So in doing that, I may not shim the locking up when I put it back on, because I want to get it as close to the fret, the strings as close to the fret without buzzing as I possibly can. I would like to think I could get the neck probably with a tiny bit of relief, not too much, keep it as straight as possible, and an action of no more than 1.75mm at the 12th fret. That way we're going to get a nice straight action. Jim will love it. I know how he likes to play his guitars. I've done his guitars before. I know how he likes them set up, and he does like his neck as straight as possible and the strings as low as possible. I always think 1.75 is a good indicator on the low E. You know, you can sometimes go a little bit lower, down to 1.5, but then you really, it's all about tolerances, and it's about how much relief you got in the neck. If you're having no relief in the neck, I'd pretty much say you're not going to get lower than 1.5mm on the low E at the 12th fret. It is a balancing act between relief and action. You know, if you have relief in your neck, you're going to have to get a lower action on the 12th fret. It all depends. So, like I say, it's a balancing act. I will get it as close as I can without buzzing. Jim knows what, he knows my work, he knows he can trust me. So, next thing for me is to remove these frets. I'm going to do that. I'm not doing it today, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to start on this in the morning. I took one out, I didn't heat it up, I just took it out. It did chip a little bit. I've glued some of the chipping back in. I'm going to run a little bit more glue over there. What I think I am going to do is, this is not a bound neck, I'm going to saw all the way through the edge of the fingerboard. I'm not going to try and slot in there because it looks like they were filled in afterwards. So we are going to see the frets at the edges. I'll explain that to Jim. I've not mentioned it to him yet, but that will make things a lot easier. If you zoom right in and get closer, you'll see these are cut all the way through. It's only crime that's filled those slots in. So I am going to cut through the whole fingerboard when I remove these frets. I'll recut the slots, and that'll be the way forward. I've noticed that this is flat and it's in parallel with this part, the heel and the headstock, so I'll be able to mount this on that piece of MDF, a 30mm piece of MDF. Get it mounted on there. It means I'll be able to work without putting it on the jig, makes things a little bit easier for when I level the frets. But that is it, and it is where we are. You see, I took the tuners off, the tuners and all the bits and bobs and everything is in, always in a little tub there. I also tape up and mark which tuner is which. That was the low E, that is the high E. So these go back in exactly the same place they came off. That is not necessary to do that, but sometimes they are staggered a little bit. I like to do that. I like to put things back on the way they came off, so we're not altering anything. Because if that's the way it's always been set up, always been, let's keep it as original as we possibly can. So that is it for now. I will crack on in the morning getting these frets out. Like I said, I've ordered the fret wire. I've ordered it from WD Music, which is in the UK. It's not the cheapest place to go, but they do send their strips in 50 centimetres, which is quite long, which is better for bending. Out of 50 centimetres, you get 10 frets out of 50 centimetres. So I've ordered 5 lots, which gives me 50 frets, which gives me 2 lots of two refrets, and it's cost me 25 quid. So we'll save a little bit of money on there. I've also ordered some other stuff to take advantage of the free postage. I mean, normally it would be if you was ordering 3 strips, which you're going to need, you get more fret wire than you need. So I've done that anyway. So it gives me another refret somewhere down the line. I've saved a few quid, and I can't do a refret till it's here. So at least tomorrow, I'm only working tomorrow morning, so I can at least prep this board, get it ready for the new frets. and we can crack on with getting this done whenever the fret wire arrives. So I've got a week and a half to do it, so there's no rush. I've got another job on the go as well. I've got a Mick Thomas signature guitar, needs a complete fret level, which needs doing. I could do that Thursday as well, so we'll just see how we are. So stay tuned, come back in a bit and we'll see how we get on. Good afternoon, fret friends. Here's an angle you don't normally view from, but I've changed the camera because what I've done is basically I've taken the JS1000 neck, I've bolted it using its own bolts to a piece of flat MDF. The holes in there are countersunk, so the screws are stuck in, so it's perfectly level. One clamp there, one clamp here. The neck is absolutely straight. I've made sure the truss rod's loose. The neck is straight as it should be anyway, and I can prove that by, well, you're not going to see from where you are, but just take my word for it. The neck is straight. That looks beautiful. And what I'm doing is I'm re-radiusing the whole fingerboard, and at this end, well, it was 9 inch, at this end it was 10 inch, and I'm aiming to get the whole radius I've decided to go all with 10 inch. We're going to go a 10 inch radius, and I've virtually got there. And the way I've achieved that is I've taken 12 inch radius beam here, it's got some 180 grit paper, and I've basically just removed some material, going left and right, not too much, and once we finish, I'll finish in one direction until I've got close to a 10 inch radius. Now, don't know what you can see from there, but I've not removed a lot of material. I could give you a little zoom in. There's not a lot of material going off here, but all I've really done with the 12 inch radius, even though it's not the right radius, is removed a little bit off the centre to bring it down from an arced, a more arced 10 to a flatter 12. Not to a flat 12, just basically take that middle bit down, just bring it towards a 10 all the way along. We needed to flatten this bit out anyway, with it being a 9, so we're going to take some off the middle of there, and we are more or less there. If I just zoom back out just slightly, that's enough. And you're not going to see from there, but take my word for it, I've got a 10 inch radius gauge there, and we are at just about a 10 inch radius all along the length. Now I still want to remove more material, but that's where all the work comes to an end. Like these corners here have not been hit yet. I want to take off about a third more of a millimetre off the whole top. And the reason I'm doing this part of the video is I'm going to change this over. I'm going to be going across to the 10 inch radius block, which is there. And you see I've just wiped it all clean with white spirit, get any marks off here on there before, any residue from the last time I take some paper on. And what I'm going to put on there is, I've got 180 grit on there, which is really quite coarse. On the 10 inch one, I'm going to go with 240 radius. It's a finer grit, it's actually quite fine. You could actually paint over 240 grit standard wood if you wanted to. I'd recommend 400, but 240 is fine. And what I'm going to do with the 240 is I'm going to start removing a bit more material, and then I'm going to finish off with 400 grit. Now the 400, what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to radius with the 240, and I'm going to finish off by hand with the 400 grit, which is really smooth. And I could do that by hand, just to remove out any imperfections or any scratches in the wood there. The reason I don't want to remove a lot of material is, I don't know how deep these mother of pearl inlays are. I imagine they're not uber deep, and I don't really want to be removing no more than half a millimetre off the top of this fingerboard. I've still got there are some deep whelps around this area of this fingerboard, and I want to get all them out. I want to get the whole fingerboard smooth, but I don't want to remove more than half a millimetre across the height of this rosewood, because that will start to affect how we need to set the bridge up and how we need to set the nut. So I don't want to be removing a lot of material. So what I will do is I will keep checking how much material I'm removing by, I will put crosses on the fingerboard in pencil. I'll be aiming to remove these, but I don't want to do round about 3 lots of markings. I could still go a little bit more with the 12 inch radius. But all I'm going to be doing is just keeping this as straight as I can. Try and keep it in one direction, It just gives a uniform sanding across the whole length. You can just go backwards and forwards, just on a few light strokes. But what we're looking to do is hit all the pieces that we've not touched it where they're still shiny. Get everything touched. We're not removing a great amount of material. And what you can do is a trick I learned recently. Well, that's not a trick. You can actually brush sandpaper to remove all the excess to then get an even, I hope that's working on camera from where you are, to get even strokes again. And there you go. And we'll brush. And I just want to be just touching these edges. But again, nice and light, nothing too heavy. And now we are getting into the areas we've not touched before. That is as much as I want to do with the 12-inch radius. So I'm done with that. I will again check. I mean, it would have been nice to do a 12-inch radius, but then that means changing the knot over, and I don't want to change the knot over. Maybe I could use a knot with a 10-inch radius knot with a 12-inch radius fingerboard, because we've got a 12-inch radius tremolo anyway, but that is looking absolutely fantastic. We are more or less 10-inch across the whole length of the neck. Probably a little bit flatter there, but that looks fantastic. Now something else I'm going to do, you'll notice at this end here, the last fret goes over the edge of the neck. And what I tend to do in these circumstances is, I remove some barbs from the fret when I put this one in, so it doesn't spread so much, because there have been instances where these have cracked off, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to remove the barbs from the fret when I do this last one, and I'm just going to get that one glued in properly. I'll probably do that one on its own first. Doesn't matter if this one's a little bit lower than the rest of them, because it's a last fret anyway, it's not going to cause any buzz anyway. But removing the barbs stops us spreading this fret slot any wider. You'll also notice that there's some very slight chip areas just at this end on the fingerboard, but I might not have to fill these, because we're going to remove a little bit more material and the fret's going to cover those anyway. But if there are any deep ones, any I need to fill in, I will fill them in. So that's it, I'm going to crack on. I'm going to get some 240 grit on this 10-inch radius, and I'm going to start finishing this fingerboard. And I will come back, show you the fingerboard before we get the frets in. Just thought, in short, I would show you how I make the radius block, how I affix the sandpaper to it. And what I do is, I first start off with masking tape. And what I'll do is I'll just tape over both ends, like so, just so I can remove the tape later. I don't want to go over the arc, so I'll just go over each side there, and I'll just nip it in at the corner. And this means when I remove the tape, the lengths later, I can just pull this off and get all the ends pulled up really quite easily. So more or less self-explanatory. I'll just go like so. And then what I'm going to do is, I'm going to affix masking tape to the whole length of the levelling beam or sanding beam, sandpaper side, like so. And then I'm going to affix some double-sided sticky tape, and once the double-sided sticky tape's on there, I'm going to put the sandpaper on there. So basically it's just a matter of taking some lengths, masking tape, and what you're trying to do is keep to the radius, so we don't need an overlap anywhere. So what I'm going to do is just fold that, put that in there. Again, yeah. And I'm going to do the same in a moment with just making sure I don't get an overlap, because I don't want any ridge. I want the radius to be absolutely bang on. And there you go, there's no overlap there. And that's pretty close to the first piece. Is that an overlap? That's an overlap. Got an overlap there, you see? You've got to avoid that, no overlaps whatsoever. What we do is just peel back to where the overlap begins, and we just come at the side, like so. And there you go. But absolutely, I'll show you we've got no overlap. And I'm going to do this piece now, this last piece, this edge here, and then we're going to do exactly the same with double-sided sticky tape. So I'm going to just take it there, just come inside where I was. It hasn't got to be right up uber close. I mean, get as close as you can. That's it, that's absolutely fine. And what we've done there, we've got a little bit of an overlap there, we're not worried about that. Just take that, fold it over the side, and there you go. And that is the base now ready for a double-sided sticky tape. There you go. I will come back and show you that process in a second when I've got the tape out. Now, when it comes to putting the masking tape on, I have two different thicknesses. 1 inch, and I think this is about 18 millimeters, so 25, 18. The reason I go with different sizes is I'm just going to come slightly inside the edge of the masking tape area, which means I won't get 3 pieces of that on. I'll only get 2, and I'll get 1 strip of this in the middle. The reason I do that is I don't want the double-sided tape overlapping the masking tape, sticking to the radius beam, because the idea of putting this masking tape on is when I come to peel this off, I'm peeling off the masking tape, which takes everything off. There will be no residue of this on the radius itself, which will always keep the radius clean. And all I have to do when I want to put more paper on there is I just give it a quick wipe with some white spirit, and it's perfectly clean. Now, what I need to do on this piece, by the way, is that piece is ripped here, so I'm going to discard this. And that bit we can just chuck in the bin. We'll just stick that there for now. So I'm going to go with a 1 inch strip first, and I want to slightly just overlap. Now I've got the thinnest part of the tape there, so I'm going to overlap. I'm just going to go over that little join line there. So here we go. That's perfect. So we're in there. I'm going to go just a little bit over. Good. Here we go again, next piece. In fact, I'll start at this edge. Do this edge. That's pretty good there. Again, just go a little bit over. Stick that down. Sticking these edges down should help the bit we need to peel off start peeling already, and then you just peel off the paper and stick the sandpaper to it. Really, really easy. That one's done. Down the centre, and that's called a little got a gap each side, which is perfect. So that is it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut a length of sandpaper to the right length, probably just overlap just a little bit, and I will then peel back the top of this double-sided tape. There's a couple of ways we can do this. Sometimes you can just grab the edge and it will peel straight off. Other times it won't. You have to get a Stanley blade or something underneath. Now this one's coming straight off. That's great news. See if this will do the same. That's good. That's why we do a bit of an overlap, because it just stretches over. I'm thinking. There you go. And we've started all 3 pieces. And when it comes to sticking thing, we'll just peel that back, peel that back, peel that back, and these are the sticky parts of a double-sided sticky tape, which is fantastic. Then we can stick the sandpaper to that. I'm going to go and cut the sandpaper, and I'll come back and I'll show you the finished item. I've cut the sandpaper to length. I've pulled back the double-sided tape cover. So all I need to do now is take a straight edge, affix this to. Yeah, I'll take one straight edge because I can cut the excess off and use that for something else. So all I'm going to do is get up to the edge, get up to the edge, and that's it, and we're on there. And what I'll do is I will take something like a piece of, I've got the actual table cover there. Set the table cover there and I will press that in. So we know we've got it all pressed in. And now it's just a matter of taking a standing blade, cutting down the edge, and we've got that all done. So that is basically how we do it. I'll just get that all trimmed off and I'll come back and show you the result. And to finish off, we'll just tear a couple of bits. We'll push the middle bit over, then we'll push the two edges over, like so. We'll do the same this end, just a tear, two tears, then we'll just push the middle bit over, then the edges. And there you go. We now have a 10-inch radius sanding beam all ready to go and work on this fingerboard like so. And we're going to read this 240 grit like I say, and that's it. We're going to sand this smooth until it's all level and smooth, and then I'll finish by hand using 400 grit. So that's not going to take me too long. I'm going to crack on, get it all finished, then we can look at getting the nut slots done. And that is the neck and fingerboard all prepped, ready for the new frets. Finished off with 240, then I hand finished with some 400. Only went over lightly, made sure there's no scratches on this, a couple here. Then what I've done is I've taken my fret slotting saw. It says built-in depth gauge, got a brand new blade in there, 1/2 mm kerf or cut on that. Fret wire I'm going with is 0.53 millimeters, which is the same size as the stuff that came out. And this is just a matter of just going through the slot, just making sure it's cleaned out and deep enough. We know they're all cleaned out and deep enough. So what I'm now going to do pre-fret is I'm going to soak the fingerboard and leave it a night in mineral oil. That's it, just like that, just to treat the wood, because I've filled in quite a few divots here. And I just want to make sure that all the wood is treated before I start pro-fretting, because I don't know if this has ever been done. It probably has, but I want these fret slots to just soften just a little bit before I put the new frets in, just so we don't splinter or crack anything. I always do this before I refret. Let it sit for a night, and I'll dry off any excess in the morning. I'll recut these slots, make sure there's nothing inside there, and absolutely fine putting the new frets in. So the fingerboard is absolutely beautiful now. Feel the look. Look at that. I'm to zoom in. So that's the preparation done. It took me an afternoon, but it's nice. There you go. All prepped, ready to go. Check the level down the centre. That's beautiful. When we do this edge, we'll pull the top bit in a bit. We don't go right to the edge because that's the wrong way to do it. You go just bring it in so it's horizontal, all coming along the angle, same angle as the centre line there. Again, absolutely fine, and here the same. And you'll see how I'll swing this bit out just to make it straight, like so. And again, absolutely straight. So we've got that neck ready now for the new frets. Like I say, fret wire I'm going with is Hosco medium, but medium fender style. It's just over 2.4 millimeters wide by 1.17 millimeters high. It's going to be fantastic. This fingerboard's beautiful now. Looks fantastic. So that is it. I'm now ready. Well, once this is dried, I'll come back in the morning, I'll recut these slots, and then we'll prep it all, get it all taped up, and we'll prep it for the new frets. So, see you soon. So, a couple of things I've done in the meantime. I have half filed the barbs on the 22nd fret, so it slips in nice and easy. And I've also taped up the fingerboard, ready for the new fret. So there's a 22nd fret. It should more or less just press in. And it does. I mean, it is still tight, but look at that. That's like almost half in. Can't press it in all the way, but that's ready to go. So all done there. And like I say, I have a fret that just pushes in. Spare fret with the barbs completely filed off. Don't know if you can see that. And that sits in the guitar. Just push it straight in, no problem, and we're able to tape up either side. And we just pull it out and move it along to the next fret, blah, 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 blah. And that gives us, there you go, just sits right in there, look. How good's that? and that gives us just about the right spacing. Maybe some are a little bit wider than others, but we can now, when we put the glue in there, we're not going to get mess everywhere. So I'm now ready to do the refret. I did say earlier I might show some of that, but I might not. It all depends. I've got a lot on at the moment, and shooting video is quite takes a lot of time. And then I've got to glue them all together and blah blah blah, upload them. I'm not doing anything I've not shown on previous videos and recent videos. So without further ado, I'm going to crack on. I may come back and show you a little bit of how, well, we'll show you a little bit of how we got on later. So regarding the refret, we are now at the halfway stage, and a couple of things I'm going to show you here. And I do it in two halves, a refret, because when I'm gluing them in at one end, I have to clamp differently. Where this has to be clamped, I have to make a jig to clamp all these ones in. So I've done half, well, I've done just over half. I've done, I think I've done 12 in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Got 12 frets in, 10 to go. And I've clamped, always clamp using spacers, wooden spacers, wood not direct to the neck. We've got a couple of business cards in there, paper business cards. The heel we can go directly with wood, and we clamp down the centre. And I always try and figure out a way where I can actually stand the guitar neck without it putting any stress points on anyway, especially the headstock. So we have one there as a stand, and then we would go with this at the other end. And that gives us a great stand, a great base, this being one base, this being the other base, where we're not putting any stress points on the neck, or we're not putting that on the table, so that makes it really stable. And I need to leave that for an hour or so. Let the glue dry. Glue, just got a regular tight wand, original wood glue. It's not to stick the frets in, it's to fill the spaces between the frets and the fret slot. Very easy clean up, because obviously you see I tape up the fingerboard. I leave spaces for the frets. Well, you can't see it from there, you kind of can see it just at this end here. But yeah, that's going to go really well. So I'm now just going to let that stand for an hour or so, and I can move on, get the other half done, get that clamped up, and then we can move on to the next part of the process. It's going to very quickly show me pressing in 3 frets, and I've just put glue in the slots, regular tight bond, wipe off the edge. I've got the frets pre-cut. I'm just going to basically tap the edges of these frets in where they need to be. Fretting hammer, plastic side of the mallet, 3. It's not a difficult process getting these in. They are radiused tighter than they need to be. So when I press them in, and the final one, and pressing them in is just a matter of taking them over to the fret press. We've got the coils on there, line it up. Really simple. I wasn't going to film this, and at the last minute after I got the glue in, I thought I'll just film a little bit. So that's one. Just press them in. You get the squeeze out glue there. I'm not zooming in or anything. If you can't see from there, I'm lucky really. But there you go. That's 3 frets pressed in. I will take a little bit of clean up. We'll just remove that glue from there and from there. The 10 I've just put in, I shall just check quickly for level, because I want to get this. Oh, you're in there. You can see there. Just want to check for level. What have I done? There we go. Go back 1. Very good. Pretty level. And they're all pretty level. A little bit more clean up. Remove the excess from frets. I'm not worried about the glue on the tape. Not worried about that at all. And then I will finally just go across each fret. Remove the glue from the top of the fret. Anything on the sides here is easy to remove later, because we'll have a file and some paper, some sandpaper on there. But that's it. That is all now ready to be clamped again. Go with the clamp. I'll now move on to getting it all clamped up, and see you shortly. So with the frets all in, the clamps off, we are now onto what I consider to be one of the most critical parts of a refret, and that is taking off the edges of the frets before we bevel, because what we must not do is we don't want to be digging into the side of the neck with the file. And we do use a file, and I use a 90-degree file, 90 degrees that way, and we will be filing up and down, but stopping short of cutting into the neck. Now what we don't want is, we don't want frets sticking out, because when you play it's going to cut your fingers open. Now I've already gone down both sides 90 degrees, and I'm just now cutting into the tape, and that's as close as I want to go right now. I will finish this off by hand. Now you'll see there's a clamp there, which I've got lightly clamped on. That's just to stop me going over the edge with the file. Blah 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 blah. And what we do is we press firmly in the centre, not too firmly, and all we're doing is removing the edges of the frets. And once we start cutting into the paper or the masking tape, we're close enough right now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go across with the 35-degree side here, and I'm going to put the bevels across the frets. But what I'll do first is I will run along a hand file, a sharp hand file, and I will use my number 4 cut super smooth Swiss file by Swiss made by Valorde or Valord. Great file, not cheap. But I will just, this is how I'll do the finishing later when I've removed all the tape, because I'll be removing the tape off the edge to get as close to the lacquer without taking the lacquer off later. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on to doing the bevels, and again pretty similar procedure. Keep the file nice and flat, try not to hit the clamp too much, and go up and down the length of the neck. And just checking that the bevel's going in, which it is. So we're getting nice bevels in there. I'm going to continue with that, then I'm going to remove the tape. Got to bevel both sides. I don't do the leveling's done last. Get the edges and the bevels done first, and then we can do the levelling, because we're putting scratches in here doing this, even though it's smooth, putting scratches in the frets. So we do the levelling, it's the last part of the job we do. So I'm going to crack on with that. I'm going to continue, keep feeling, keep checking. A little bit shallow at this end, need more to do at this end, but I'm going to crack on. It takes more work at this end because you've got frets close together, but I'm going to crack on with that. I'm going to get it done, and once I've got really close I'll show you how I finish off without cutting into the side of the neck. Like I say, very time intensive job doing a refret. It's not just taking frets out, pulling frets in and that's it. Anyway, drop back soon. So here we are with the beveling, and we're just about done. We've got nice bevels on there. Now the bevels will have burrs on there. What we'll do later on is when we come to the levelling, after the levelling, we'll remove all these burrs by just a couple of strokes like so, and that's all you need. So very, very light. So you can do it 3 strokes. Once you get adept at this, you can go 1, 2, 3 strokes, and that's it, it's all gone. 5, there you go. And that's that all gone, but we'll get to that later. Now, how I do the edges is I will take the file, number 4 cut, give it a clean, and when the tape's all removed I will very, very carefully come in and just slightly angle the file, and I will just remove these burrs off the edge, and I'll get this right up to the edge of the neck without going into the lacquer. If you do go to the lacquer, no problem, just to give it a quick polish with a bit of steel wool or some super fine paper to get a scratch out of there. We're going to get some scratches. It's impossible not to get any scratches at all, but we can easily get them out. So I will do this once the tape's off. The next part of the process will be to get these frets level. So I'm going to remove all the tape, take the neck off this piece of MDF, remove all the tape, and then we're going to tape it all back up again. Check the level of the neck. We're going to alter the truss rod, make sure the neck is perfectly level. Then we're going to, or flat. Then we're going to level all of the frets. Right, you don't really need to see me, so I'm going to zoom in with the camera and I'm going to explain what we're doing now. And you'll see I have a neck on the jig, absolutely straight. The neck, I checked it with the not straight edge before I put the tape on, which is the best way to do it. And now it is on there. What we do is we zero the gauges out, bring them to 0. And now if this neck moves at all while I'm leveling the frets, see they're both zeroed out. If that neck moves at all while I'm leveling the frets, I will know about it. Next plan is, or the next part of the process is, we are leveling the frets, and I've covered them all in marker pen, all of the frets. And what we're going to do is we're going to go across with a leveling beam, a piece of milled steel, both edges, top edge and bottom edge, both been milled perfectly flat. I have some 240 grit that side, which I use to remove the main, and once I get all the frets level, I'll finish off with the 400 grit. Once the 400 grit's done, that will remove some of the thicker scratches. Once we've been over with 400 grit, I will then move on to crowning the frets. Very straightforward, sort of backward and forward motion until we get all of the frets level with each other. Now I'm going to continue doing this until I've got the frets level. I will go across a few times. I will replace the marker pen, and I'll be checking every now and again with the fret rocker for frets that I think are high. I mean, that's looking pretty uniform across all the frets already. All the frets are silver bar. A little black area there, a little black area just here. So I will go across with a fret rocker. I'll check them all. For any high spots that are higher than I think they ought to be, I will remove them with the file, or with a flat file, probably number 3 or number 4 cut file, and then I'll go across until they are all level. So I'll come back when we are ready for crowning. So I've just moved the camera ever so slightly just to get that little bit closer in. I've levelled the frets. I'm just going to finish off now going across with a 400 grit on the levelling beam. Covered all the tops of the frets again in marker pen, as I've done a few times. I shall just clean. It does brush off quite well actually, better than you'd expect. Clean the levelling beam, and there you go. And just a few strokes, looking to remove all the pen in a few strokes. Keeping the radius, following the arc of the radius, go over to the edge, back to the centre, and go into the outside. We are all done. And that is it. There's no pen left on the tops of any of the frets. It means we've got nice even frets all across the length. The zero gauges are still zeroed out. Just give it a little brush. Don't know if you can see from there. Where are we? There you go. The tops of all of the frets are now all silver. What remains to be done now, where I've flattened the frets, we need to put that curve back on the top of the frets, like called the crown. Get a better idea if I move my hand out of the way. Where the frets are flat on top, we need to put that crown back in across the cross section area. So I'll be removing the neck from a jig. I'll get it all set up on this piece of MDF, turn the neck round that way, and I'm able to do that all on here. I'll move it over to you eventually do that so I get the light of the window. I'll proceed to crack on with getting this set up, and I'll come back and show you how we get on with that shortly. And here we are at possibly the most satisfying part of a refret for me, and that is recrowning the frets. And I'm going to zoom in just a little and just see where I need to be. I think we'll recrown this one, number 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do that one. So why is this the most satisfying part for me? I don't really know. It's just once you've got everything level, you've got the frets in, you've got the frets level, then you're doing the most important part, is getting the frets crowned again. And your frets now are this way along, all across the length. They're flat on the top where they should be crowned. They're originally crowned, and we're going to put that crown back on. It's going to go that way, and we're going to put it back on. To do this, I've got various files. I have 2 crowning files, 3 edge file, ground flat edge so we don't cut into the guitar, but I take the guitar neck up anyway. It's a coarse cut. I have a fine cut one. This is a beautiful file. Again with ground edges. Nice flat edge there for doing the tops. Probably my favourite file. But this, I use this a lot. I use this more than any other file in the shop. And then finally I will have the file with a groove cut in it, just to remove any burrs at the edge and just to finally shape. I also have a diamond file, one of these, which I sometimes use. Don't use it a lot. But how I crown a file or a fret is, I'm going to mark with marker pen across the whole top. And I'm looking, I want a small area at the top of this fret to be the point where the string hits, and I want minimal contact with the string. Now I don't want it sharp enough that it's going to cut the string or snap the string. I want it around about 1/3 of a millimetre wide. So what I will normally do is I'll take the free edge file and I will just file, and as I file across I'll roll over until I create that thin line. I do believe this file only cuts one way. I can just do it one way like so, which is pushing away. I can go forwards and backwards, it doesn't make that much difference. And then when I've done that side I come to this side. Now I'm going to roll away. So I'm going to just go across, slightly roll in. Checking that I've kept a line then. I've got a really thin black line across the top of that fret. So that one is crowned. I'm going to go again with a fine file this time. We always, after every single fret, we clean the file. We don't want to be burring it up or scratching it up more than is necessary because we're going to polish these later. So again, making sure the file is clean. And I'm going to finish with this one. And just rolling slightly toward you as I come across on every stroke. Checking the cut of this. I'm going rolling away from this side. And once I'm happy I've got a nice semicircle looking at it in this direction, I can go across with this file. Use a 2.5mm side because they're quite narrow frets, 2.6, so 2.5 will do. And I'm just going to go lightly across, just to remove any burrs and give a uniform shape to the top. And once done, I will take the fret rocker, I will check the level of that fret, and I'll check how level it is compared to the other frets around it. And this one. And there you go. Fret is still level. We've now put the crown in it. Got 20 more to do, so I'll crack on with those and I'll come back to show you how that went shortly. Welcome back folks, and you'll notice the camera's moved again and we are now at the polishing stage, and I've already gone through 4 grits of paper and I'm now up to 2000 grit. It says 200 on there but it is 2000. I've done a few, I've got a few more to do. Well, I've got these to do, then I'm going to finish off with 2500 grit, and this is just a matter of always don a glove because this stuff, dust, let me show you this dust. There you go, there's the dust, that gets all in your skin pores and you don't want that. So what we're doing is taking paper and we're going right over the top of the fret, and then we come into get the edge, we're going in that way, pressing in this edge, and we're coming this way and pressing this edge. So we're polishing the whole fret, and we'll do all 21, all 22 with various grits. I started off with 800, went through 1000, 1200, 1500, now doing 2000 grit, and I'll finish off with 2500 grit. And what we're doing is we're polishing out any scratches we have on the fret wire, bringing them not just to a shine but making them glass smooth as well. Just move across to the next one. So this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th one from this end. There's a 21 in all, and this is where we take our time. Great stuff. When you get to the end like I am now, we're all ready, we're just shining off the frets again. And I will crack on, get all these done. Once this is done, I'm going to finish off, get right into that corner there now. I'll finish off with 2500 grit. I've done 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Once that's done, I'll finish off with the finest grade superfine steel wool to bring a shine right out. Once that is done, I'll peel off the tape. I'll go across these edges again with a file, a smooth cut file, just to make sure we've got no jagged edges overlapping where the fingerboard joins the neck. You'll see we've also rounded off the bevels. How I do that is when I start with 800 grit, I get the 800 grit and I go across all of them that way, then I come across this way and we remove, basically we're just rounding off these edges on the bevels. It means when you run your fingers up and down, there's no sharp bits catching your fingers. I love doing this job. A very long-winded process, this one polishing, but it's again, my favourite part is probably doing the crowning, but after that it's getting this polish and peeling the tape off and seeing what a great job you've made of the frets. So I'm going to crack on. I'll probably come back and show you a little bit more when we get to the steel wool stage. And here we are, right at the business end of finishing the polishing, and I've just got these three to do with finest grade steel wool. And basically it's just a matter of going across the top of a fret, then coming in to the edges. Each side, I'll go in this side, get pushed right in the corner there, push right in the corner of this side, pushing this way toward me, and then across the top. And that is a beautiful, beautiful polish. Onto the next one, same thing. Always satisfying to get the polishing done. And the next good bit I have is to remove the tape from the neck. Have a look at the good work. But one final thing, I've not finished yet on this neck at all, on these frets, because of the way the edge of this fingerboard is cut, and the way the fretting has gone, and the way the last frets were in, is we're not going straight down. The edge of the neck here is going first at 45 degrees, then it's going that way. So I have to go across. I'm going to go across with a file. I'll have it in this, I'll have the neck, I'll put it sideways and I'll turn it over this way to there, and I'll be going across with a fine file, maybe even a levelling beam, just to remove the burrs right on the edge. I'll be doing my best not to cut into the lacquer. If I touch the lacquer a tiny bit, I'll be okay. But that is the polishing done. So, I'm going to get the tape removed from the neck in a minute. Once I remove it from this visor, it'll be looking fantastic. Don't know what you can see. I'll get the magnifying glass on. I'll just give you a quick glimpse. And that is the frets polished. So I'm going to move on. I'll give another update later. So I have removed the tape, and I must say that the frets look absolutely wonderful. But that is not yet the finished article. I need to now clean up the bits of residue, tape residue, off the neck each side, and I'm going to go across, just basically just check. I mean, these frets aren't really sticking out, but it's a tiny bit. I'm going to give it a wipe over, probably with some white spirit, get all the gunk off there, and I'll just take a fine file. I'm just going to whiz down these edges just to remove any edge burrs. Then I will be, I'll have a look, zoom in on there, I'll be cleaning up all the residue from here. Now I will likely go with something like, I'll probably go with a bit of white spirit on a cloth, on a rag, just to remove all that residue. Then I'll wipe that off, and I'll probably whiz over with something like what we use as naphtha over here in England. We don't get naphtha in England, but the closest thing we get to naphtha, or basically something that contains naphtha, is Zippo lighter fluid, which basically is naphtha. So I will do that, clean up, and then I will go into the edges of these frets. If there's any glue in there, clear all that up, and we'll give a squirt of mineral oil, and the neck will be ready to go back on the guitar. So I'm going to crack on. So if I can quickly show you what I meant, by the way, about the neck not being absolutely straight up the edges. I mean here, at this edge here, if you look where the fretboard is, it's not perfectly straight up like that. It actually cuts in at an angle, same as on this side. Then when you get to the top 2mm, it goes over at about 40 degrees, like so. And there are a slight bit of fret sticking out, very slightest bit, just down this edge or down the edges. And I need to get that off without cutting into the lacquer, so that's going to be the next part of what I do. It will mean all I need to do is take a fine cut file. I do have a fantastic number 4 cut Swiss file. It's a really fine file, and I will get this in the vise, and I will basically and gently by hand just skim across in one direction, cutting as little into the lacquer as possible. I'm going to touch the lacquer slightly. If I just give that a quick polish up afterwards, you're not going to know. We're not going to remove any great substance or any great layers of anything. we're just going to, basically if we do touch it, we're going to touch it ever so lightly. Once it's done, you won't feel any of the, I mean, you can hardly feel anything now running down there, but you can feel it enough for me to think that I need to go over that again. So it's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get that done. Once it's done, I'm going to start putting the guitar back together. So regarding this edge tremolo, I am just shimming under a couple of the saddles because the radius is more or less a flat 14, between a 12 and a 14, and I'm more of a radius to a 10. So what I've done is, I have some shims, and we're all the same thickness, and these are shims, and we place these beneath the saddles, and I have done the two middle ones, each has had 2 shims underneath to bring a little bit higher, and what I'm going to do is now these two, this one here, I'm going to put 1 shim underneath, and how we do that is we loosen, or we just completely take out the saddle lock screw with the right Allen key and take it out completely. We don't lose the washer that's on there, but we remove it. Now the saddle will lift up like so, and I'm going to take one of these, place it underneath, and I'm going to put the screw back in. Now I didn't see where that thing actually went, screw, so I'm lucky I'm going to have to do the intonation again, aren't I? But I would imagine it goes about there. Normally you can see on the saddle where it locks. It locks about there. That one done. And now we are getting the radius closer to where we need it to be. In fact, we're going to get it to a 10-inch radius. I mean, that is even looking better. You can actually see the radius now. Just need to put 1 shim on this one, which would be the B string, which hasn't had one. And the radius should more or less be matching. Yeah, which it is. Very, very close to a 10-inch radius. It's the best we're going to get. I want to put more shims on than that. So I'm going to carry on, get this last shim in place, get this on, get some strings on, and then we can look at the intonation and we can start getting this guitar set up and it can go out. And here we are, friends, and the guitar is all finished. And look at this. Beautiful. So let's recap what this guitar has had. It came in, the frets were more or less non-existent, there's nothing left on there, they were flat. So I decided that this guitar would not only benefit from a refret, well not benefit, it needed a refret, but not just a refret, but also re-radiusing the whole fingerboard. Now it's a slightly compound radius, 9-inch radius at this end, 10 at this, and I decided to give it a 10-inch radius all the way across the length. But they were also, on radiusing, it also found that there were 6, 7 or 8 divots in frets, and not just divots, deep whelps. So I decided to fill those in, and I've already also done that. Didn't charge for that, did that as a little freebie. And we refretted the guitar at a 10-inch radius with a 10-inch nut and a 12-inch radius bridge, I believe. I have shimmed 4 of the saddles. 2 of the saddles, the A and the B strings, have had 1 shim underneath, and the D and the G strings have had 2 shims underneath. So where the radius was quite flat at 12, we put a slight more curve in it. So the radius matches all along the length of the guitar, which is going to make it a lot easier to play. We have a relatively low action on there. One other thing I did as well, there were shims under the nut, 1 each side, and there was a thick one this side and a thin one this side. I've left the thin one this side because it's needed, but the thick one this side I've removed completely to get the string action nice and low above the first fret. Didn't need a shim this side at all in my experience, or I just didn't think it needed one, so I've not put one there. The guitar plays fantastic, it looks fantastic. I know it's got the issue slightly with the fading. He did want to respray on this, but you see he was looking at selling, and there's no point selling this if you're going to spend £300 on a respray, £200 on a complete refret, then you only get £700 for a guitar. You've done all that work and you've got 200 quid for it, it's not worth it. So I've convinced him to keep hold of the guitar, which he's going to do. He spent the money for the refret. The guitar plays like an absolute dream, looks like a dream. It is an Ibanez JS1000, made in Japan, early model, don't know the year. I think these were made between 92 and 94, these earlier ones. I think the chips and that in there don't really detract from anything. It's a great playing guitar. It has DiMarzio pickups which sound amazing. The tremolo, though I've not used a tremolo, I've not plugged the arm in and used a tremolo. I have set it up. It's floating very, very nice. It works both ways, up and down, forward, backwards. So you can dive bomb and you can pull back. The guitar looks fantastic. That neck looks absolutely amazing now. And the frets, well, the fretwork, I didn't really show you, did I? If you want to have a little zoom in and just have a look there. And I can turn it on its side so you can check the edges. One little problem I did have on the neck, I'll try and explain. The neck is a C or D shape like so. So that's your neck, that's the contour. And then when you get to the fingerboard doesn't go perfectly straight. It actually goes in a little bit. Then when you get to the top, it goes in at 45 degrees. So I had to really take my time doing the edges of these frets with a file because I didn't want to have to cut into the lacquer on the sides of the neck. So I really took my time with that. But I've got the edges really nice. This is going to play absolutely beautiful. I know Jim is going to be pleased. So that is it. He's coming round to fetch it this morning. And I want to nip in the bath before he gets here. So I'm going to end this video right here. My name is Victor Christian. I am Fret Friend. My website is fretfriend.co.uk. The best way to check me out, or the best place to go and check what I do, is facebook.com, NGONESEVEN. That's facebook.com/NG17. So, boys and girls, that is it until the next project. So, as always, be good to each other, and I will see you soon.